Welcome, everybody, to the Chinchilla Pickin' Podcast. It is June the 16th, 2024 at 4:10 p.m. As always, we hope to be entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. My name is David Underwood, and I'm joined by the one and only Brandon, the late Beaver.
I was not late. I was on time this time.
To be determined. To be determined. You knew I was going to sneak that in there, man. Come on now. So, how are things, Brandon? How are things?
You know what? They went down 3-0 in the series. Dallas Mavericks came back and won one big to extend the series. Nobody's ever came back in the NBA after being down 3-0 to win the finals, but there's a first time for everything. So optimism remaining high still. We'll see.
Nice. True Dallas fan fashion. There you go, man. I like it. It's getting hotter. It's going to be a hot week this week in Cincinnati. It's a lot of fun things there. And then next week we get a fill-in presenter, commentator, if you will. Nick Young will be on the show with Brandon hosting. Nick as the back and forth, if you will. So looking forward to that next week. Tune in. You get to hear different point of views. I get to take a break for a week. Not really. I'm having major surgery, but Brandon and Nick will run the show and hopefully take it in a good direction there, man. Looking forward to that.
We're going to talk all politics and cuss the entire time.
Just kidding. And fantastic. I will listen to it Monday morning with exuberance.
We are just going to run this show right into the ground.
I appreciate it. You know what? He did call us out in our group chat for getting a little too political last time because if you listen to the show for any particular length of time, you know we try to stay apolitical and keep it to just financial and stock news. Sometimes you have to dip your toe in the political water because it affects the financial and stock news. They all sometimes hand in hand on a Venn diagram. They kind of mix a little bit, but we try to stay apolitical as possible. So.
If you listen to enough episodes on this, piece together kind of everything, what we say, you could probably ascertain as to what our positions are politically. But I just get so bored with the whole politics thing. And there's so many pseudo-intellectuals commenting on politics. I think they're smarter than everybody else in the room, but the irony is they're not. And it just gets so annoying. The political media, I'm just so bored with.
Right, and that's why we give you something else, stocks and investments from guys on the ground, retail traders just like you, just trying to help out one another and lift each other up and make this world a little bit better, man. Yeah. That's what we're all about. We really just want to help. So if you have questions, DM us, ask us, let us know. Hit subscribe, tell your friends and family all about us. Let's grow this together and help as many people as possibly can. All right, rules. Brandon and I get together 5 to 10 minutes before the show, and we tell each other what we're going to talk about. You hear the live back and forth, the bicker and banter right here on the show for you. Brandon, as always, man, take it away. What you got first?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about 2 possible turnaround plays. We'll get into the first one real quick. That's Southwest Airlines. Elliot Management announced that they have a position of about $1.9 billion in Southwest Airlines. And they're an activist investment company, right? So this is an activist stance here. What they say is that they believe that Southwest's poor execution and leadership unwillingness to evolve the company strategy, this has led to disappointing results for shareholders, employees, and customers. They've got a rigid adherence, and this is from Elliot Management again, a rigid adherence to an outdated approach that hinders its competitiveness in the modern airline industry. Their stock price has declined by 50% in the past 3 years. And they've got a few recommendations here. They recommend that they have a stronger Southwest plan put in place. They want to emphasize 3 important actions. Enhance the board, which in essence means replacing most of it. Bring in more independent directors, and they really want a CEO change here. They've got a comprehensive business review going on. They've done interviews with like 2,000 customers. They've done interviews with former employees and analysts that cover the industry as well. They believe that Southwest problems represent a compelling turnaround opportunity here, as long as they get new leadership and new ideas. What they say is that if their campaign succeeds, their stock could rise by nearly 70% from its recent close of about $29.70 to exceed $50 a share. Now, that's, I don't know how they came up with that number. It's speculation, of course. But the airline's current management is viewed almost by everybody now as worst in class in the airlines industry here.
So hold on, I want to interject here real quick, if you don't mind. Anytime a stock has dropped over 50%, and that's seen as like a symptom of worsening problems within the company, right? Because a stock price should just be seen as a symptom of the company, and there might be other things, processes, other things going on, and it may be fine, maybe just a one-off symptom. But in this case, I don't believe it's a one-off symptom. I believe that there is some things wrong at Southwest. But I believe also with Elliot in regards to removing some of the directors, because if you have a problem over the last couple of years where the company's just getting worse and worse and worse, you got to remove some of those directors and replace them with new ones.
Yeah,
And
so
Southwest should have been doing that themselves.
let me go through some of the issues that they're citing here, and these are serious. And once again, like you just said, a 50% decline in the stock price, that could just be a switch in sentiment, right? How many times we
Right.
see that with Tesla? How many times we see it with Meta? And it was just, people turned against it for one reason or another, and it didn't have anything to do with the underlying fundamentals of the company. But this does. So this comprises Bob Jordan's 2-year tenure as CEO. There's been 8 negative guidance revisions, an 84% decline in EBIT expectations for this year, 43% down in TSR underperformance relative to peers, 13 analyst downgrades, not a single upgrade. Now, we had that famous December holiday meltdown in 2022 where 2 million customers were stranded during the holidays, and share price underperformance on 10 to 11 significant earnings events. So we've got some serious problems here at Southwest Airlines. The stock has been utterly broken. Elliot Management thinks that they can turn this around. They've had, here's what they're cited. They've kind of cited some of the issues. They said delivery delays in Boeing jets have left the airline understaffed. Southwest's largest share of U.S. passenger volume and strong presence in non-hub cities should provide opportunities for improvement. So they do have the largest passenger volume here in the United States. And this is one of the reasons why they're saying that it's a good opportunity to turn things around if you just get your balance sheet in check and you start to operate on good values and good fundamentals here.
So is this sorry, I don't mean to cut you off again, but like this is what you and I talked about on this podcast in 2022. Like in companies that are Southwest was seen as a budget airline, right? It was Frontier before Frontier and Spirit were a thing. Southwest was the budget airline. So their profit margins were thin and small, and then inflation hit, or in 2020, early 2022, inflation hit, and now started hitting really harder over that 2-year period, and now all of a sudden they can't meet these earnings expectations, so they have to raise prices, but then they're no longer a budget airline. Now they're moving in with Delta, United, and so on and so forth, but they don't have the same amenities.
And that's true. And one of the things too that Elliott Management saying is, hey, you guys are focusing a lot on unprofitable routes here right now, in the hopes that these will grow to be profitable. You're trying to grow your company, but you're not focusing on profitability anymore. One of the things that they've been focusing on for some reason has been inter-Hawaiian flights, which has been owned by Hawaiian Air since forever. And why are you focusing on that? Go back to these profitable routes and let's just see some cash generation happen again. They said that restoring cash operation margins could yield significant additional cash flow, and that could be the underlying reason why the stock could go to $49 or more a share.
Now, I've seen companies, Brandon, where they've come out and they said, "Look, we're going to miss on earnings for the next 3 quarters because we're investing all of our profits in growth in these XY areas. But at the end of that, we're expecting to see growth in these XY areas at this amount of much, right? And
Yep.
if they hit those goals, then the company's stock moves up, not down." Because they forewarned everyone that they're going to be investing the profits, and this is where they're investing the profits, and this is how the growth. I don't see any of this kind of plan laid out by Southwest over the last 2 years.
I don't at all. I don't
Yeah.
at all either. And if Elliot gets their way, I honestly think that this could be a good upside for the stock. But at this point in time, I mean, we've seen so many proxy battles in the shareholder room, not won by activist investors. So I'm sitting on the sidelines, just sitting here waiting to see what changes are enacted. This
No
is
one
going to
is
be a
as good
show.
as Carl Icahn. Carl Icahn was the best at it. No one's been as good as him ever since. You have Persian Square and what's that guy's name? That he was meant to be Buffett Jr. and he had a big fight with Herbalife and that ruined him. But I mean, there are activist investors that are good, but Carl Icahn was the best, and nobody's been as good as him since.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Icahn, Hertz Automotive, for example, the rental company that is Hertz, and that was a Carl Icahn thing. But yeah, I just don't see. It's a show me stock right now to me. Show me that you're making the right changes. Show me that you're going to at least compromise with Elliot Management. Then I'll think about buying it. There's nothing worse to me than a stock with bad management.
Right. I mean, what was that one company that was just riddled with horrible management? And they ended up getting bought out. What was that? Activision? That was Activision, wasn't it?
It was Activision. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
terrible. Terrible values, terrible morale at the company. A CEO that was even accused of kidnapping.
Yeah, that was just downright degenerate behavior throughout the company, and I was glad that Microsoft bought them out and let go majority of all those managers there in that system. So
Yeah.
sometimes a buyout can do good for the other people working in the company that have to put up with that.
Now, here's another company that's on a turnaround story, and this is one that I'm actually a possible turnaround story, that is. And this is one that I'm actually thinking about just dipping in lightly to right now, just very lightly. We hold our podcast here at a local Starbucks. That's who I'm talking about.
Oh
And
yeah, that was
a
fun.
lot has changed since then. We were talking about all the different new machines that they were bringing in, the wait times that were declining, all of the positive upsides for Starbucks. But the biggest change here was that Howard Schultz stepped down in 2003, and ever since then, look, guys, just get your stuff together without Howard Schultz. The guy's just trying to retire, okay? He doesn't want to have to come back a 70th time.
Not in 2003. He didn't retire.
Yeah, he stepped down in 2003, and then by the end of the year, he actually completely stepped away from the board altogether.
Yeah, but he came back because I remember that
earlier. So he came back and then retired again in 2003. I think this is.
I think you got your dates wrong. I'm googling you right now, live on this podcast.
Promise you, I'm not. I think it was like 3 times that the guy came back to take over the reins, because this company does not seem to go anywhere without Howard Schultz. With Howard Schultz, it's broken. Without Howard Schultz, that is, it's broken.
So 87 to 2000, 2008 to 2017, and then 2022 on, according to Britannica.com.
Yeah, he left. Now they've got a new CEO. They left a year ago, and ever since his departure, the stock's down 21%. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So let me just look at the 21% decline here. Why did
But I was right. He came back from 2008 to 2017. I just want to put that back out there again.
He just wants to retire, guys. Just get it together. Jeez. Since his retirement here, we've got Quarter 2 earnings came in. Consolidated net revenues decreased 2% to $8.6 billion. This was attributing to a challenging operating environment. Of course, we got inflation right now. Everybody's looking for those off brands to save money on. The coffee drinkers of the United States right now are drinking from home and going to smaller boutique shops where they can get their stuff for cheaper. Go ahead, Dave.
Inflation in coffee. I want to talk about it real quick. Has it I mean, it also has to do with what happened in North Africa in the coffee fields there. And you have to mention this, the price of coffee has skyrocketed over the past year. Um, so I'm pulling it up right now. Coffee price right here. And it is skyrocketed is because there have been fields of coffee that has just completely disappeared. Like they couldn't grow anything, and it was for a while. Um, went from September of last year around 140 all the way up to 260. I believe that's a pound or not pounds. It's gotta be like 1,000 pounds or something. But
Well, I mean, this is a good explanation as to why 15% of the mobile orders for Starbucks over the past year went completely unfulfilled.
unfulfilled.
Unfulfilled, 15% of them
What
of
do you mean?
mobile orders.
Like Starbucks? Seriously, it's the first time hearing this. Starbucks couldn't fill these orders.
Exactly.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, I would short the stock.
Global. Well, I mean, look, it's at lows right now. 21%. It's lower than it has been in the past 3 years. This is if you invested back in this stock when we were talking about it when Howard Schultz was still there and it was a good company, you would have lost money by now. But I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
it's unseen. We didn't know that Howard Schultz was going to step down. We knew he was interim, but we didn't know this was going to happen again. This is
why would I
man.
keep going back to a coffee place that can't fill my orders every time I place it? Like if I'm want to get coffee at 6 p.m., but by the end of the day they're out of coffee. Yeah, I don't want to go back there. That's a bad
Not me
experience.
either.
No, I'm
Me either.
going somewhere else. I'm going down the road to Dunkin'.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
know,
would do
I'm
too.
going to some other
Um,
local spot. You know.
supply the supply chain has eased for them though recently. So this is, and by the way, one of the positives. Both these companies have positives that you look at and you say there's a possible turnaround here. 6% increase in loyalty membership. By the way, so I don't, it seems to me like people are still wanting to shop at Starbucks when they have the money to do so. But global comparable store sales dropped 4% with a 6% decline in transactions, um, slightly offset by a 2% increase in the average ticket. So we don't see too many price increases here so far with Starbucks. It seems like they're trying to keep their prices at least flat. They're not going down in prices because they want to continue to be seen as the premium coffee brand and have that kind of moat, as far as their brand goes, at least. Um, but Starbucks did off in the same at the same time, and this is one of the things that I question about them. They opened 364 new stores. You got supply chain issues right now, and you're dropping margins and you're dropping in revenue and having comparable store sales decline. Maybe you take a step back for a couple of minutes at least and say, hey, instead of opening up new stores, let's do with the new stores, let's do the right thing and try to get those back on track again. But they've got a growth plan here. They're sticking to it. They want 55,000 stores by the end of 2025. And that's been 364 new stores so far in the past year. They've got a total of 39,000 stores globally, 52% company operated, 48% licensed.
Yeah, I know they've opened up some mobile only stores with no seat in. It's just you go in, you pick up your order, and you go, and it's mobile only ordering in bigger cities such as like New York City, Chicago, or LA.
Yeah, and that's been kind of a boom to their customer base for those mobile orders. So that's 15% of those not being fulfilled is pretty bad. But I do think that those mobile stores will see some growth at least in revenue over time as the supply chain does start to ease, and it seems like it's easing right now. I just worry that they're going to fall into the same trap that they fell into that made Howard Schultz have to take back over again. And if you look back at the history of this company, they've had a lot of success in China. They've had a lot of success in South Korea. Look, South Korea is like the size of Ohio and maybe a little bit of Kentucky combined. They've got 1,900 stores in South Korea.
Man,
1,000. That's a small country for that, but very successful there. But look, if you're opening up all these new stores and going into all these new countries, don't do what you did in Australia, because they didn't take the time to study the coffee culture of Australia, and they failed big time there.
I got a question. Do you think Howard Schultz is calling Bob Iger and saying, "Why did they keep calling us back?
I know. Why is this happening? I just
Why
want to be
can't
on
we just
my
retire?"
I just want to be on my yacht, sailing the seas somewhere, not dealing with this, but I keep having to go back. Why?
I
Gap
can totally see them having like a Zoom call or something, complaining about their companies that keep wanting them to come back.
Gap operating margin contracted to 12.8%. This is a 2.4% decrease. They said that this was mainly due to increased wages, benefits, and promotional activities. I think it's the coffee too, obviously. I mean, you can't skip out on that. The company continues to expand internationally. Opening of the 400th store in India. So they got 400 stores in India, 600th in Indonesia. As I said, 1,900th in Korea. The growth supports the goal of reaching 55,000 stores by 2030. And they say they emphasize unit economics as a prerequisite for expansion. What unit economics are you talking about here? You just had a really big miss in Q2 year over year. I don't get the unit economics on this. Look, please do not take the subway approach to this. There's a subway on every street corner, and nobody was going to them. You had too many subways. Do you remember this, Dave? You
Yeah,
remember
I do.
Subway? Yeah, and
Hundred
this is
percent.
a huge problem in the fast food industry. I'm concerned that 49% of these stores are licensed and franchised right now. You have to abide by the local culture. Australia taught them that, but you also have to have a unity in the brand and quality throughout, right? It has to be recognizable.
Yeah, I don't want to go to a McDonald's and order a Big Mac and not get a Big Mac. It's the same thing with Starbucks coffee. You always want that one stable coffee that you can find at every single Starbucks, which is usually Pike's Place. You go to Starbucks, you know, they usually have Pike's Place brewing, and that's the one stable coffee. You could count on that. You could count on certain things from Starbucks, and that's what people are looking for. You know, we want that, you know, what we deem as higher quality coffee. We want our espresso shots to be nice. You know, we want to be able to customize it how we want to customize it.
There's a movie called Founder about Ray Kroc and McDonald's. And there's one scene where he goes in and he's just absolutely nuts because this McDonald's franchise is selling chicken pot pies.
Yeah,
He's just,
right.
why are you selling chicken pot pies? This is McDonald's. This isn't a chicken place. Come on. I,
Yeah.
I I'm worried about it. I really am. But I do want to dip into it just because the brand is so strong.
They,
And
they have a lot of loyal followers. The brand is strong. People believe in the name. They have some current troubles right now with union talks on the coast, with some other political news that's been in the headlines for Starbucks. There's been all kinds of different troubles, but those haven't lasted typically, and they haven't had a real deepening impact into the numbers. So when the numbers are dropping, you know, I'm looking at like, where's your sales? I mean, you can't be paying people too much because they're wanting to unionize on you. So you're obviously not paying, you know, what they feel like they need to. So where's the money going? What are you spending your
right.
money on?
Right. And so right now it's $79.75. I'm buying, just a couple of shares, nothing big. Might drop the bucket of money onto it if it gets back down to $72.50. We'll see.
There you go. Cool. All right, Brandon. Guess what?
What's that?
I'm gonna talk about a commodity, and it's not oil. Believe it or not, it's not oil, but it is a commodity. So I want to go in here, and I started going through. One thing I do every Sunday before Brandon and I get together is I typically look at headlines and what's happening because I want to capture the immediate right now. Because Brandon covers a lot more of the fundamental, the long term. This is how we grade and view stocks, and that's very important. You need to know that information. It's very, very important. Um, I like to cover a lot of the macro, the headlines and the news, but sometimes I see multiple headlines about one certain topic, and now all of a sudden you have a story about one topic. Now all of a sudden we have news all about one thing, and that's kind of what I was seeing today. So some of the headlines, I'm going to go through a few of these. This one came out in the Reuters, and so just to cut to the chase, they're all about lithium today. Is what I'm going to cover. Lithium and the miners and everything about lithium. And there's a broader story here I'm gonna cover, but this one Reuters headline came out yesterday at 10 p.m. It says Chile says Saudi mining ministers to visit. Lithium expected on agenda. So the story is very quick. I can read the whole thing here in a minute, but basically, Chile's government said on Saturday that Saudi Arabia's mining minister will travel to the Latin American country in July with plans to meet with his counterpart in Santiago. He will indeed be in Chile in July and ask for a meeting with the minister, but the date is not yet set. A government source told Reuters about the visit on Thursday, saying the two officials would discuss potential investments in lithium. Chile is the world's second largest producer of lithium, a key material for the making of batteries that power electric vehicles. The Saudi Minister of Industry and Mineral Resource Minister also told Reuters in March the kingdom was interested in sourcing lithium abroad as it aims to enter the electric vehicle sector. So Saudi Arabia is looking to take some of the money they've made off oil here and make some investments in lithium as they move into more electric vehicle uh, parts of their economy here and away from oil. And it's very interesting that they're meeting together and they're trying to get some kind of deals here, and it's showing that like maybe South America is now becoming more of a hot spot, if you will, with Argentina striking up new deals with its neighbors, and now you have Chile striking up, getting Saudi Arabia in to its deals. Before I move on to the next article, Brandon, did you have anything you wanted to add to that quick little article?
I like where Argentina is going altogether as an economy.
Gotcha.
I do. I mean,
They're neighbors. So
you still have to be careful because it's got still super high inflation right now, but they're trying to conquer that, bring it down. They're doing the right things.
there you go. So I mean, Argentina and Chile is like Canada, United States are neighbors. They share a border. But moving on to the next article. So these are all going to tie together here. All right. So Serbia is to give the green light for Rio Tinto lithium mine. This one came out today, this morning at 1 a.m. on 6/16 on the Reuters headline again. If you don't have a Reuters subscription service, guys, it's worth it. You could just go in there and you could type in, you say Tesla, and it will pull up all the articles. You could sort them by most recent, and it pulls up every single thing that came out on the Reuters news wires about Tesla. Great tool for researching stocks. Anyways, back to Serbia and the green light. So Serbian President Alexander Vučić, I'm sure pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize, is preparing to give Rio Tinto the green light to develop Europe's largest lithium mine 2 years after they called it off. So this is being reported by the Financial Times. He told a newspaper that the new guarantees from the global mining giant and the European Union looked to set to address Serbia's concerns. They were all environmental concerns, and they were concerned about pollution and so on and so forth. Rio Tinto addressed these, came back, and it's moving forward. So basically, here's another quote from the article. If we deliver on everything, the mine might be open in 2028. Is projected to produce 58,000 tons of lithium per year and would be enough for 17% of EV production in Europe, approximately 1.1 million cars. So a little history in 2022, they pulled the license for this. Environmentalists got together, got signatures, and said no. But then Rio Tinto's since made changes and came back and is now getting this mine in over there in Serbia and Europe. Brandon, any thoughts on that before I move forward?
It'd just be interesting to see what happens there. I think I really been hoping for a resurgence of South America uh, for a very long time. I think a lot of us have been. I think Argentina's making the right steps. No surprise right now. There's violent protests going on because they're upending the way everything's been done for years. The austerity measures and people that are losing their jobs because they're losing their government protected jobs. Go ahead, Dave.
So that last article was about Serbia and Europe. Just
I
FYI.
know, I know, I know. But we were talking about you're talking about Chile and Argentina too.
Gotcha.
I don't really have much of a knowledge base on Serbian economics, so I don't really
Gotcha.
know where to go with that. But yeah, that's
So let me give you one more article real quick. This one's a Reuters headline that came out on June 10th at 6:54 p.m. And the headline reads: Australia's Rio Tinto to buy Mitsubishi's nearly 12% stake in Boyne smelters. So mining giant Rio Tinto will buy Mitsubishi's stake in Boyne's smelters, but they also bought Sumitomo Chemicals' stake in Boyne's smelters. So as of right now, Rio Tinto owns 73.5% of the smelter in Australia. This acquisition will be finalized in the second half of 2024. So if you kind of see what I'm piecing together here is I covered earlier this year, I believe it was in January, February, that big giant lithium mine that was found in Montana, and how that was going to be the biggest one ever found in the United States. And it was going to cover all kinds of things, and Elon Musk was excited about it. And that was trying to get approval. And there was some investment, and I named the small company that was running it at that time. And now you see a lithium mine, lithium miners in Chile trying to strike deals with the Saudis on trying to get lithium out of there. And now you have a mine that was at one point not allowed to be opened. All of a sudden, 2 years later, they're going to say, okay, you could go ahead and open this mine. You've made changes. We like it now. The point I'm making is people are starting to open up lithium mines all over. And what I believe is happening is the countries in Africa and China. China is striking a lot of deals with these African countries for these mineral rights. And China is starting to hoard a lot more of this lithium as like holding like aces in their hand, and countries are starting to see it, and they want to go ahead and mine their own lithium in their own country so they're not dependent upon this. COVID taught us this. COVID taught us a lot of things by being dependent upon other countries for resources. And this is what I'm seeing across the board. I could go into more articles I found all about people researching, developing lithium mines and other mines in their home countries that they probably weren't going to do years past. Go ahead, Brandon, real thought before I go into Rio Tinto. I was going to cover Rio Tinto.
I think Afghanistan produces a lot of lithium too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it. And I wonder if this is gonna. I hope it's gonna be a good thing for everybody. For a long time, it seemed like any time a third world or emerging economy announced that it had a lot of oil, it was just invite for a lot of unrest and a lot of intervention from other countries. There was quite a long time that I was saying that if I was an emerging economy and we discovered a lot of oil on my land, I would just not tell anybody. Because there's so much stuff that went into that. And, a lot of politicians, a lot of leaders and stuff just trying to put all their eggs in the oil basket, and it didn't quite work out for a lot of third world countries. So, but hopefully lithium's different.
Right. Hopefully. I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole with the contracts that China has with a lot of the African countries and how they have a stranglehold on the government economically. Whereas the government has to give them so much or pay so much, and the contracts have to be held private unless there's it's ridiculous. Just start Googling because you can find all this information about it. Anyways, Rio Tinto, the stock, right? So the ticker symbol is RTNTF. That's RTNTF. Currently trading at $80.74 a share. So if you go back, it's been within a range. The range it's typically traded within is between 70 and 90. So it's right in the middle of that range. So with all these deals going on, they have a nice healthy dividend. The last dividend paid out on March was $2.59 a share. The P ratio is sitting at 12.81. Unfortunately I use Fidelity, and it wasn't letting me see any earnings on this, and I had to Google it other ways. But it's a pretty healthy company, and with a number of details and owning the whole smelter. So they're going to own the whole process from beginning to end, Brandon, as far as mining, smelting, so on and so forth. That tells me that like they're really thinking that this is going to be this is an investment of them of using their profits into growth and just owning it from beginning to end, to like right before they give it to Taiwan Semiconductors to make batteries. They own everything, every aspect of it until then. And that's what I see about the move into Australia there, and buying up the smelters. So I'm looking at this, and I've added it to my watch list. I'm not yet sold on it. I got to do a little bit more research on Rio Tinto, because again, it wasn't on my watch list before I woke up today, but it is now, and I want to do a little bit more research and find out the more of the fundamentals on this. But for what I'm seeing right now with the moves it's making, I see it maybe breaking out of this range it's been in for the last couple of years and moving up to maybe closer to $100 a share. But I'm not buying yet. I want to do more research on it.
Yeah, I mean they've been very aggressive. I like the valuation of the stock right now, just at a glance right now, and it looks like they're profitable. So that's a good thing, obviously. I just, yeah, I think that from what you're spelling out here, it's very aggressive, very vision oriented, and very much following through on the vision that they have. So I like what I see so far.
Right, complete opposite of Southwest, which is what I was saying about earlier. Like the Rio Tinto seems to have a clear vision, a clear path, and I like it. So I've added to my watches. I'm going to do some more research this week and see if it's something I want to create a position in or not. But yeah,
And I
lithium.
because the future still for lithium is very good. Obviously, with the electrification of vehicles, I mean, we're really going through a second electric revolution right now, and lithium is going to be a big part of that.
Huge part of it, and that's why everybody's scrounging around to find these mines and open them up and get them going. Whereas before, like that one in Montana, nobody would have cared.
Right.
I mean, it was used for, I believe it was used for natural gas or something, and they're wrapping that up, and they realize, hey, we got all this lithium here too.
Right.
So
I might jump into Rio Tinto rather than Starbucks, to be determined.
there you go. There you go. Something to think about. Like I said, it's on my watch list now. I'm doing more research this week. I'll let you know. Next quick article I found very interesting, Brandon. I did not see this coming. This came out of left field for me. This article actually got released on Friday. I can't believe I missed it, because I typically look for this company in Reuters news headlines, and I must have just been tired or something. But it came out Friday at 5:42 p.m. And the headline reads, Novo Nordisk CEO to testify in U.S. Senate hearing on the high cost of Ozempic and Wegovy. Did not see that coming out anywhere, right? So the CEO, Lars Jorgensen, was agreeing to testify voluntarily in a hearing focused on U.S. prices for weight loss drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy. A U.S. Senate Health Panel vote that was scheduled for June 18th meeting to decide whether to subpoena Novo to answer questions about U.S. prices for the blockbuster drugs is no longer necessary and will be canceled. The subpoena would have required Novo President Doug Lagana to testify at July 10th hearing. Jorgensen will testify before the committee, and the hearing will be held in early September now. So they pushed it off to September. He's going to come voluntarily. You don't have to subpoena him. Currently, Novo charges Americans $1,349 a month for Wegovy, whereas in Germany you could buy it for $140, and in the UK you could buy it for $92. This is what Bernie Sanders is saying. The committee looks forward to Mr. Jorgensen explaining why Americans are paying up to 10 or 15 times more for these medications than people in other countries. And then, so Bernie Sanders is the one pushing this and asking the questions why, what's going on. Novo responded with a letter in May blaming the U.S. health system for the high prices, according to the report. First initial reaction, Brandon.
Well, there's probably a higher demand here in the United States because we like our sugar.
There is a higher demand. There are millions of Americans taking this every single month. Novo Nordisk is making billions every single month in America off of this. There's a huge demand. They can't keep up because of the American demand. They are opening more. They're building more factories, and they are actually, like I covered before in previous podcasts, they're creating more of the lower milligram dosage ones that go out, the starter doses that get you going on the drug, because you have to build up to the higher dose. So they're creating more of those in order to meet the American demand. But yeah, do you think there's an actual? I mean, do you think this requires a U.S. Senate panel on Novo Nordisk, or do you think? I mean, Novo Nordisk doesn't seem afraid. They're willing to come voluntarily. They're willing to talk about it.
No, I get the point of the whole diabetic insulin stuff, all of that, trying to control the prices on those things that people need every day to survive and to live. But no, not on this.
Yeah, and if you have and it depends on the reason for taking Wegovy too, and Ozempic. If you have one, because it's used for actual medical conditions, and if you have those other medical conditions, it is billed differently, believe it or not. So this is billed this way if you're taking it just for weight loss and you don't have one of the other underlying medical conditions that are required for it, and you're taking it for weight loss. They do charge you that much because weight loss is not, I believe, covered by most health insurances.
Yeah, I still don't think there's a good reason for a Senate intervention, Senate panel on this. And I think it's going to be largely unproductive anyways.
There you go. Just wanted to add that in there as something to think about. I'm not selling the rest of my shares. I sold a little bit of my Novo Nordisk share and I bought that ETF. I'm still holding that. Yeah, you know, I'm not selling any more of my Novo shares. I'm still keeping everything else I have. Brandon, final thought, man. What do you got? Bring us home.
Two turnaround plays here. One that I'm kind of okay with, but the other one, the Southwest, is a show me stock. Starbucks I like because of the brand. I'm still questionable about the direction of it. But Southwest, yeah, until there's at least some sort of compromise, some sort of change in management and vision, and starting to focus back on the productive lanes rather than the unproductive ones. I really want to see the CASM-X is one thing that's big in the airlines. It's cost per airline seat mile, and it doesn't include fuel. So this is what it costs the airline to put a passenger in one seat for every mile. And that's just gone up and up and up and up with Southwest Airlines. I want to see that start to come back down again. And then maybe I'll start thinking about buying into a turnaround for them. Both of these companies have been hurt greatly because of inflation. They're, low cost Southwest. Their margins weren't very good to begin with, and they've gotten hit harder and harder and harder and harder. Actually, they were pretty good at the very beginning, which is weird, but they're not good anymore. And then different reason for Starbucks, obviously. This is supposed to be quick, isn't it, Dave? This is a final thought, and I never get these things right. But premium brand here, high prices have turned off consumers. A lot of people just aren't paying that for a Frappuccino anymore. They'd rather go down to McDonald's and get a lower cost Frappuccino, or just drink coffee at home and save money. I don't expect inflation to last forever, though. Eventually, this is going to turn.
There you go.
Let me repeat that. I don't expect high inflation to last forever. Inflation will last forever as long as we're doing money the way we do it right now. As long as we're on the paper money system, inflation is going to keep going and going and going and going. But I don't expect hyperinflation to last forever.
Gotcha. Nice. All right. A couple things real quick. Number one, so that ETF that one of the ETFs I own, CONY, I was on Stock Twits and some guy was there posting about how this is Ponzi scheme or this is bad, and he's posting all these different things, and he started posting about NAV, and all these other. He's using acronyms there to try to make people be like, if you don't know these acronyms, then you won't want to confront this individual about what they're saying, and that's the purpose. Is that they use snippets, which is if you're on a PC, it's where you just take like a little picture of a part of your screen, and you can edit that and Photoshop that all you want. And that's the problem with a lot of these people on TikTok, Stock Twits, Instagram, what have you, is that if they start posting all this information, please go and research it yourself. You could Google what they're saying, and you could find out that it's totally false. Find your own information. Go to Fidelity. Go to TD Ameritrade. Google things, search things, do your research, find definitions of things, and then look up the actual data. Yahoo Finance provides a lot of data if you don't have a Fidelity account. I mean, there's a lot of places to get the information and data you're looking for. So just be careful. That's one thing I definitely want to say. Next week, you're going to hear Nick Young on here with Brandon Beaver. I hope they cover a lot of great things for you. And then maybe I will text them if I'm feeling up to it about Rio Tinto. As I lose the use of my left arm for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, can't use my left arm.
When do you expect you'll be back on the show?
We'll see. We're going to play it by ear. Definitely not next week. I'm resting and recovering next week. So 100% not next week. We already got that covered, and we'll move forward week by week. But hopefully the following week I should be fine. Just I could talk. I just, typing slow. Typing's one finger at a time slow. So without the use of two arms. So there you go. All right. Thank you for listening. Please hit subscribe. Tell your friends and family all about us. We appreciate it. As always, we hope we have been entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. Have a good night.
Have a good night.